Now, President Cyril Ramaphosa yesterday convened the Special President's Coordinating Council meeting for finding solutions to South Africa's energy crisis. In the meeting were, among others, cabinet ministers, premiers, executive mayors, energy experts and the leadership of Eskom. The gathering comes after Western Cape Premier Alan Winde penned a letter on the economic impact of load shedding in his province. To reflect more on some of the outcomes of the meeting, we're now joined by Premier Winde. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. Talk to us about some of those outcomes in that meeting.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I really did welcome the calling of the President's Coordinating Council. I think still I am very concerned. I didn't seem to see enough urgency from the presentations, whether it was from Eskom themselves, the ministers, or Mr. Dix, who heads up or chairs the crisis committee. They put broad numbers on the table for this year and spoke about a rollout over the next medium and long term. But for me, I still need to see much more urgency. I think not only it was I that put on the table, I think other premiers and mayors did the same thing. Other members of the National Cabinet did the same thing as well. We need much more urgency on the one side. I think we need much more clarity, more often a full briefing, but for me, the full detail. For example, we've got a 2023 year ahead, and the Energy Committee says that we could get up to 8,822 megawatts into the system. But my problem is if I look at where those megawatts are coming from, none of them look like they are hard and fast. So, I would much rather see what is the minimum we can expect to get this year so that we can plan. And then I think over and above that, there really was a lot of discussion around the impact. Every citizen is feeling this. But the impact at local government level on our water security, on our water purification plants, on our sewage pumps, on our water pumps. So, of course, it's got a massive negative impact on the economy, but also it's about sustaining this disaster, this crisis, at the level that it's at with level 4 to 6. Our municipalities are not coping when it comes to giving basic services at the same time. And then the last point for me is really understanding, and I don't know if we really have the full grasp on what the consequences are. As I said before this and in my letter, the financial consequences, the food security consequences, the consequences of just a disastrous maize crop this year, that's going to have on staple diets of our citizens. The effect then on inflation and on poverty is going to be unbelievable. And so that's why I'm looking for much more urgency. And, the President has said they'll go back and have a look at whether this can be declared a disaster, go and have a look at the detail on that. I really do believe that there's got to be much more urgency in the system.
Speaking about your letter, you gave President Cyril Ramaphosa an ultimatum, urging him to come clean about the extent of the country's electricity crisis or face a possible intergovernmental dispute. Where does that stand on the back of this meeting?
So, I still need that full detail, even the high-level detail given to us from the crisis committee, the Energy Crisis Committee. That detail is very broad. It is not detailed. It's only a 5-6 page presentation. We need to know much more detail. Who's doing what, by when, what are the real risks? We know that our coal power stations are hugely at risk, but what is the real risk of a total collapse versus a partial collapse, and that we can prepare? We need our municipality. I need to be able to say, do I put another budget through now with an emergency disaster plan for further generation at municipal level for pumps, for water pumps? Water security, a big thing. Many mayors are talking about the energy it takes to run a water purification plant. We can't have energy failure and then quality of water or water failure as well on top of that. So we need to make sure that we get all this detail. The letter still stands, and I still wait for that clarity of detail. Otherwise, we will be forced to declare that dispute.
What would that dispute look like, just, if you had to indeed execute it?
So in the Constitution in Chapter 3, it says that, governments they might be independent spheres of governments, but we are actually we are codependent and we have to work together. And that's why I'm not able to, as a government within the constitutional framework, go straight to the courts and say, I want the courts to declare that this is not right and the information should be given to the provinces, the local authorities and the public. I have to first go through a legal process, which the first step is after trying letters, etc., that we go through an intergovernmental dispute. So it is still a legal process, but it's an intergovernmental legal process. If that fails, then I go to court, and the court will not throw it out because I will have shown that I've tried, between spheres of government to really get to the nub of what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Well, we've also heard about the time frames that it will take to ensure that load shedding comes to a stop, 12 to 18 months. What are your thoughts around that?
So, if I think about the food cost, if I think about the business and jobs cost, we are talking about millions and millions of jobs at stake this year. The reason that we're in the level that we're in is because Eskom has run out of budget to run the diesel plants. How do we weigh up the difference between a budget and, of course, running diesel is very expensive. I really think we need to find ways of finding cheaper diesel. The cheapest diesel we can find in the world should be providing us with that top-up energy. But we can't wait until the next year's budget comes through in April. We can't wait for that. We need to put another adjustment budget through. National Treasury must find the money, because if that is the difference between food security over the next year, it is not an equation that we even need to debate. We need to make sure that we find that extra money, make it available for those diesel generators. We also need to say, what else can we bring into the system as quickly as possible? I want that clarity, because then that will tell me in the province what I need to do. I've decided already that we've got to try and make ourselves as energy resilient as possible. I need to know the framework that happens within. But there are definitely things that can be done far quicker than they're being done right now.
We heard in July last year President Cyril Ramaphosa announcing a 10-point plan to unlock 15 gigawatts of new electricity, but that's yet to see the light of day. And, of course, we've gotten some reassurance from the presidency saying that the president is indeed taking this energy crisis seriously. You made mention that you want to see much more urgency when it comes to that. But this time around, is there some level of confidence that we're getting closer to doing away with load shedding?
So I want to say that I still don't feel confident, because if I think about the discussion and what I look in the plans, what I see in the plans on the grid upgrade. Now, remember, we've got an energy deficiency problem, but we've also got a grid problem. Right now, there's about 7.5 gigawatts of renewable power that's approved through the REAP processes, but is not able to feed into the grid or is not being built because the grid system is at capacity, is not being serviced properly. So just as importantly as the failure to service our coal plant has now resulted in energy failure, the failure to service and improve and invest on our grid system is also going to be really a big, big hindrance. So at the same time as we're doing emergency stuff on dealing with managing and maintaining our existing fleet, bringing new energy in as quickly as possible, that new energy is not going to work if we don't have grid investment. And I don't see enough happening on grid investment. That's why, during the COVID-19 pandemic, we declared disasters so that we could actually really focus and pick up delivery on certain things, whether it was building systems to get oxygen into every one of our hospitals, or whether it was building a field hospital like we did at the CTRCC in 6 weeks. That's the urgency that I want to see now with energy.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Let's perhaps leave it there for now. Thanks for that. Western Cape Premier Alan Winde.